I would love to hurt him and finish him and him out.
How was he punching? Was it hurting
like
you?
A thunder. He punches like a mule kick. Unbelievable. Excuse my French, please. Oh, my God.
It's time!
You're listening to the Cage Nation TV Prizefight Podcast. Coming to you from the Coastal Cameron Studios in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Are you ready?
Here's your host, the big fella, Albert Cameron.
Let's get it on!
Thank you for joining us for the Prizefight Podcast this week. I'm your host, the big fella, Mr. Albert Cameron. And thank you guys for joining us. Now, we got a big week this week. Someone that I've talked to quite a few times in my entire career covering combat sports. He was victorious last week at the main event of Next Level Fight Club over DeMarcus Daniels. Ladies and gentlemen, this week on the Prizefight Podcast, the one, the only, Dirty South, Mr. Owens. Now, when you're listening to the podcast, you're might hear some strange noises, and that's because my cat snuck into the Cameron Studios while we were talking, and I couldn't very well say, "Hold on, Dwan, my kitty needs some emotional attention," which is what he was looking for. But he's a good cat. He loved talking to Dwan Owens almost as much as I did. This interview has got some good stuff in it. We're going to be learning some stuff about Dwan Owens that you may not have learned before. Don't go anywhere. Dwan, Dirty South Owens on the Prizefight Podcast. Cage Nation TV would like to take a second and formally thank all of the businesses that have taken the time to sponsor a mixed martial artist or a boxer as they have trained to attain greatness. In the world of business, it can be looked at as an advertising expense to get your name out there. But did you know that your sponsorship dollars is actually keeping the American dream alive? Your help and support is actually changing the lives of aspiring athletes. Working hard and reaching for the brass ring is truly the great American story. We encourage all of our listeners and followers to support businesses that sponsor your favorite fighters. And thank you to those businesses for your continued support and encouragement.
This is the one Dirty South Owens. You're listening to the Prizefight Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to have our next guest on the phone, Mr. Dwan Owens. Dwan, how you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Back on the grind.
Absolutely. So, Dwan, I wanted to get today started off with a funny story. So I'm at Next Level Fight Club 6, and my first time being in Raleigh, first time doing anything with Next Level, and they're great folks. Like, they are, as far as promoters go, I think they are fantastic folks. But I don't know anybody.
Definitely.
So I'm looking across the cage. I'm sitting down, and I see a very familiar hairstyle, and it was Dwan Owens. So, Dwan, I just wanted to thank you for making me feel comfortable in North Carolina, especially in the fight scene.
Hey, no doubt, man. That's what we got to do. You did the same thing for me in PA a while back, man. So it always comes back to you.
well, speaking of Dwan Owens, one of the first fights I've called. I mean, when I did work as a commentator, Dwan's first time I saw you fight was at Complete Devastation MMA 4 in Johnstown, Pennsylvania. That was almost a lifetime ago.
Yeah, man. I was a baby pro then, man. I remember that.
Well, baby pro, I mean, we've got now 15 wins. Not just 15 pro fights, Dwan, but 15 wins. That's big.
Yes, indeed, man. Knocking them off.
Now, you just fought a 3-round war with Marquez Daniels. Undeniable victory. Like, you won that fight.
Yep.
What do you think you learned most about yourself during that fight?
Well, that, when it's time to handle business, man, regardless of what's going on, I got to do it, man. Only a few people close to me know, man, but I had a surgery like 2.5 weeks before that fight. I had a cyst on my chest, man. If you see some of my old fights, you could see it. It was really small, and it started getting bigger. So, I went to, my wife was on me about it, man. So I went to the VA hospital, got it taken out. They put the, the dissolvable stitches in there, and then they put some kind of, basically like some skin glue on there. So I'm like, okay, well, what's the estimated recovery time? They're like, about 2 months. And I'm like, oh, okay, good. I was like, well, and of course, I got this fight coming up, but, hey, you got to handle business. So I was a little, maybe apprehensive with the strike, and that's why I noticed I was a little more rapid heavy. You know what I mean? But it held up. I felt good. But just mentally, in the build up to the fight, I was like, damn, you know what I mean? Is this too soon? But went out there and handled business. So that definitely that felt good, man.
Well, I'm glad to hear you recovered well from surgery. I mean, I don't think any of us in the press even had an idea that you were coming into that fight after being operated on. So kudos to you for being a top level competitor all the time.
Hey man, we gotta handle business, man. This is what we do. Baby's gotta eat.
Absolutely. Now, Dwan, you've been fighting for almost 10 years, getting wins up and down the East Coast. So you've been to Pennsylvania, Florida, Mississippi, North Carolina, South Carolina, I think, too, right?
Right, yep. When I was amateur, Fortune John, South Carolina, yep.
Okay. Now, how do you keep yourself motivated to grind like that, to keep up with that kind of hectic schedule?
I love it, man. I mean, one, a lot of people, they were athletes when they were younger, so they can kind of get burned out with the lifestyle, man. But I never competed in any organized sport before MMA. I started training as an adult. I already married with children, so I'm still hungry. It's still new to me. It's still fresh. I'm still learning, still getting better. So I think that may be a big reason why. Like, it's still exciting to me. And I'm also a fan of the sport. I'm not just you meet a lot of guys and they fight, but they don't watch the sport. They're not a fan. I'm a huge MMA nerd. Like, I love the sport.
Fantastic. So you say you're a fan of the sport. You've been fighting for 10 years, so I'm going to say somewhere around like the first couple of seasons, The Ultimate Fighter may have gotten you inspired to fight.
Oh, definitely, man. I started, not quite. My first Emmy fight was in 2009. I turned pro 2011, but the Ultimate Fighter show, I believe it was 2005 was the first season. I was in the Marine Corps at the time. So I just used to watch the show in the barracks with my roommate, and, we kind of just fell in love with the sport. My dad had already been a fan of the sport, so he was, MMA OG. He used to watch all the old UFCs and damn renting from a video store and double tape. You remember people used to double tape back in the day?
Oh, yeah.
So, so he was a big fan. He was more into it than I was, At that point, around, I'll say maybe early 2000s, I only knew, the big names, Matt Hughes, Chuck Liddell, shit like that. But I became a fan of the sport around the time of the Ultimate Fighter,
So we just learned that Dwan Dirty South Owens, a Marine Corps veteran, which thank you very much for your service to our country.
Appreciate that, man.
How much do you think you take of the Marines into the cage every time you fight? I mean, because we're talking about how active you are, how willing you are just to go in there and fight all the time. How much of the Marines do you take into the cage with you?
Well, I mean, maybe not so much in terms of skill, because obviously, you got to train. Skill is just something that's put. But as far as the mental fortitude, maybe that has a lot to do with it, man. Regardless of what's going on, I'm never scared. I do what I got to do. And even if I am feeling flustered, once you got to do what you got to do anyway, apprehension, nerves, or anything like that is never a justification to not handle business. So I think that may play a part. Something I've got from the Marine Corps more so than I think about, maybe on a subconscious level. But when it's time to handle business, that bell ring, it's on. I don't care who's standing across the cage.
Now, Dwan, you mentioned about handling business. So I'm cage side at Next Level Fight Club 7, and I see Marquez Daniels throw an overhand right that, probably would have dropped a lot of people. And you look at the man straight in the eye, and you say, okay, come on.
Yeah, I remember that. He landed a clean shot. Now I remember, because the thing is, I was trying to fight a very controlled and measured fight. A lot of times I come out very aggressive, throwing a lot of strikes, I like to put on the show. But for some reason, like I said, I don't know if it was a combination of things, how I felt about the surgery, or just, I feel like guys are really game planning a lot against me now, man. You know what I mean? Like, when I come out, they're avoiding, they're keeping a lot of distance, a lot of space because of the kicks. So, I got tons of highlights out there, man. So people aren't crazy. So, but because of that, people have been apprehensive to engage. So this time I was like, okay, I'm going to stay in boxing range a little more, not throw as many kicks. So fighting that controlled fight, and then when he landed, for a split second, part of me was like, man, fuck that. Okay, you want to, you want to throw, we want to do it. So that came out, but I had to rein it back in and chill, champ. And then get back to the game plan. But I think when he landed, it kind of, the swag was about to come out for a second, but we're back to the game plan, so it's all good.
That was a real intense moment, and I've seen you fight before, and your fights are always very, very entertaining to watch. That was just a great back and forth fight that it was a good match for you. How did you prepare for Marquez Daniels? Were you prepared for him to be as equally skilled as what you were?
Oh yeah, man. Well, to be honest with you, I think one, this was a very grappling heavy fight, you know, and I knew this guy was a good grappler. He trains at a really good school. I knew his wrestling was going to be good. I knew his jiu-jitsu was going to be good. I knew he didn't know how good my ground game was. A lot of people, because they see my highlights, because they see my fights, they're like, oh, okay, this guy's a striker. They don't know how good my ground game is. But again, I train a lot of jiu-jitsu, man. I compete in a lot of jiu-jitsu super fights. You know what I mean? All the time. So, you know, people a lot of times they don't learn until it's too late. But I've trained with two of his training partners before. They're actually my boys. So I knew he knew how good my grappling was. I knew he knew how good my striking was. So from what I was thinking is, okay, this guy is going to try to lull me into a striking exchange. And then when I really start turning it up, he's going to look to level change. I knew he was going to do that. Sure enough, there was a lot of times, as soon as I start releasing, he's changing level, looking for a shot. He'll throw a high kick, then immediately do a big level change for a shot, throw a big overhand right. As soon as I fire back, he's looking for a shot. And I stalled on him each time, but I was thinking about that. I was consciously thinking about that. Had I just went out there and just fought just to fight, because I usually do, I let the fight happen. I don't come in there with a lot of premeditated stuff. You know, he might have surprised me on some of the takedown attempts. So whether he got him or not, you know, a lot of times that depends on how deep the guy gets in on the shot. You know what I mean? So, but I was always, you know, I knew he wasn't going to strike with me. You know what I mean? And I knew if he wanted to, he was going to change his mind eventually. So yeah, that definitely, you know, I felt like I had the handcuffs on a little bit.
Now, the first round, kind of a feeling out round between you two, you know, kind of measuring each other. But as the fight progressed, it seemed like the third round was the rally round, was the round that Dwan Owens really won that fight. What did your corner say to you going into that third round, Dwan?
Well, the third round, they were like, it might be 1-1. You definitely won the first. You might have had the second, but, you know, just go out there and just let it go. I mean, the thing is, in the third round, I always go for broke. I always come out, you know, I'm pumped up. I always try to pump the crowd up, and then so that I can feed, like it's like a give and take thing. Like I put it out there, they yell, it comes right back into me. So I'm always pumped the third round. And, you know, so I was just ready to just go out there and get a finish, you know. He was tough, man. His ground game was good. His defense was good. Like I said, it was very grappling heavy, and that's cool. But usually when I get on top of guys, I'm ground and pounding, or I'm getting a submission from the top. But his defense was good. Every time that, you know, while I was on top, he kept his hip active. He constantly was looking for underhooks. So if I were to start opening up with strikes, he'd have definitely been looking to get up. So it was, you know, I don't feel, I mean, winning is priority. So we got on track, but I definitely wanted to open up with a little bit more ground and pound. So, you know, tough dude, tough fight. I felt like it was 2-1. Even in the round that he won the second, it wasn't because of damage, but he did get my back in the end because I was in a rush to get up. You know, I could have been a little more cautious and technical in the way I stood up, but I didn't want to just be on the mat being held. I was like, all right, look, man, just get your ass up. And within that, I left a little gap, and he got to my back while I was standing, which, I mean, you know, like I know, when you're standing, it's very easy to send a rear naked choke if you got wrist control. So I wasn't worried about that. But just from aesthetic perspective, he had my back. So I think that's what might have gave him that second round.
Dwan, your students regard you very highly as coach. I was sitting cage side. There was a gentleman behind me, very animated, very, very about the support. Does that support counts for a lot when you're going into a fight? I mean, did that yelling and support help rally in that third round?
Yeah, well, the thing I always hear about people yelling for me, man. You probably talking about my buddy Shazil, man. This is my dude, man. It's like my Boondini, man, with DJ Khaled. But whether it was him or somebody else, I'm always pumped, man. I'm always, you know, man, as long as I'm in the fight, I'm in the fight. You see a lot of times with guys in tough fights and they mentally check out, and even though they're still going through the motions or they're still moving, they're going through the motions, or they're just trying not to get finished because it's a moral victory. But I don't care if there's 10 seconds left on the clock. I'm always dangerous, and I'm always trying to finish the fight.
Well, the next time you talk to your boy there, please let him know he made a very big positive impact on us. That was great to see. I mean, I'd be fine if everyone in the arena was so hyped like that. That was incredible.
Yeah, will do, man. I'll definitely hit him up after this. I know who you're talking about, man. That's my man, Shaziel, man. Good dude right there, man.
Absolutely. Well, Shaziel was, before the main event, I think in one of the intermissions, was talking about a lot of the work you've done in teaching people self-defense. You've recently been in Senegal. You're working with students. Tell us about some of like the work you're doing like in Senegal and teaching self-defense and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, Senegal was the second place we went to. The first place we went was Uganda, and it basically we're teaching self-defense seminars. I also teach some jiu-jitsu and some MMA seminars to local martial artists. But most important, primarily the self-defense seminars is priority to me, and we're basically just combating gender-based violence, community violence, and domestic violence also, but specifically gender-based violence. So we're teaching self-defense. We're also, if we're honest about it, we can put things in place to deter and bring the percentage of likelihood of something happening. But if we really want to stop sexual violence, then we have to teach men not to be predators and perpetrators of sexual violence, right?
Exactly.
So we also have a lecture component. So we teach the techniques first. That's a technical aspect. Then we get into breaking down rape culture. What is rape culture? What is consent? We really break that down. And then we have, like I said, we have men there also. We don't want women to get a false sense of security with doing some of the techniques. Because I've, not to throw anyone specifically under the bus, but I've seen some atrocious shit online. Some no other way to put it, some dangerous stuff that, which you can give someone a false sense of security. And, so in addition to that, the third aspect of it is the situational awareness component. And these are a lot of things that I learned from the Marine Corps. So it all developed organically. The teaching is primarily based on jiu-jitsu. Some of it is some Gracie jiu-jitsu things. Some other tweaks that, we've added to it from other martial arts. And then, like I said, the lecture component, a lot of this comes from a lot of gender studies classes, a lot of research I've done online, the people I've spoken to. And then lastly, the situational awareness, primarily things that we learned from the Marine Corps. And I think it works well in conjunction with each other. I think a lot of seminars that I've seen, they've only focused on one, and that's pretty much the techniques. But in a perfect world, I don't want anyone to ever have to use these damn techniques. That's what we want. And when we say situational awareness, we're not victim blaming. We're not saying if something happens to you, you should have did something different. But we have to understand that the predator wants an easy target. So I'm thinking, okay, how can I make myself, how can I limit my vulnerability? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, right, I fight professionally. I don't go to I don't go to the club at all, but I don't go to the club drinking and, shit like that. And this is what I do for a living. So I would imagine that someone else who may be a little more, vulnerable, let me say an easier target would just, so we really break that down.
That's absolutely incredible, DeJuan. I mean, we still, in some places, still carry the stigma that, we're fight fans and fighters, so we must be bloodthirsty and out of our minds. But here you are teaching folks how to defend themselves. That's steps in the right direction. And I mean, as someone who's a son and a brother, I'm very glad that you're out there putting that kind of stuff out there. Thank you.
No, I appreciate that, man. Thank you for the support, man.
No, you're very welcome. Now, DeJuan, you're young, you're active. You have a lot of experience.
Yes.
If someone were to come to you today and say, hey, DeJuan, I want you to fight today, what was the shortest amount of time you'd take a fight today? If someone said, I want you to fight, what's your time frame? Well,
that's to be 100% honest about it, that's going to depend on who's asking. You see what I'm saying? If you're talking UFC or Bellator, shit, tonight, put the honey bun down, right? But more than likely, it depends, man. When I was younger in my career, I really didn't give a damn. It was like, somebody offering, we taking it. But the more, the older I get, you gotta be serious about this thing, because your record is your resume, and even if you're better than someone, it's about all these things come into play. And even like when I turned pro, there was no promotions in North Carolina, so I had to travel. My first 10 fights, I was pretty much the main event or the core main event, and I'm fighting a hometown guy. And obviously he's somebody real good. And I won the majority of the times, which I wasn't supposed to. They didn't start having fights here until I was already really experienced. So, and again, I'm young in the game. So I didn't fight a bunch of scrubs. You see what I'm saying? When I went up there and fought Ewing was like either 3-0 or 3-1, but he was a Division I wrestler. I think he was like 10-0 as a damn Emmy. He was 10-0 as an amateur. I remember reading an article on him, and like, damn, shit, this motherfucker pretty good. They said it was like they did some kind of thing like, oh, he's the best amateur in Ohio, right? So we went out there, busted his ass. Then when I went up there and fought, I mean, it was a tough fight. I don't want to say it like that. Then when we went out there and fought Jeff Smith, I was still a baby pro. I might have been 4-2 or something, but Jeff was 9-1. Jeff had been on the Ultimate Fighter. So the fight was supposed to be 5 rounds. Wound up being 3 rounds because Serb, don't get me started on this dude. It was like, changing the shit at the last minute. And you seen how that fight was going.
Oh, yes.
You seen how that fight was going. 5 rounds he would have thought. So, again, that you saw exactly what I'm talking about, and that's how it was. There were no damn fights in North Carolina. You know what I mean? So, I don't regret that. That's good. It made me the fighter that I am, but at the same time, to young fighters just getting in the game, when people are on their ass about like, oh, well, he's fighting scrubs and, this guy is, 4-0 and he's padding his record. Man, get them damn wins in first, because eventually you're gonna be able to fight nothing but tough guys. The only thing I can do now is fight tough guys. The commission won't even let me fight somebody who's sorry, which I don't mind. But if I look at any loss earlier in my career, it's almost laughable, like what I would do to the guys now.
Right.
But sometimes it depends on when in your development you fight somebody. Look at GSP versus Matt Hughes 1 and GSP versus Matt Hughes 2 or 3.
Oh, night and day.
It's almost a joke, right?
Absolutely.
But at that point in GSP's development, he wasn't ready. Matt Hughes had over 40 damn fights. GSP might have had like 12 or something like that the first time. That makes a big difference.
Dwan, I've been following your career for quite a while. And on your record, you have bouts with Dustin Pig, UFC veteran.
Yep.
Jeff Smith, tried for the Ultimate Fighter and World Series of Fighting veteran. And
Right.
Jordan Rinaldi, UFC veteran.
Yep. That was an Emmy fight they're already doing. Yep.
Right. But
Rand Weathers.
Right.
Rand Weathers. Don't forget about him. He was a finalist on the Ultimate Fighter. Pequeno Nogueira, who was a Shuto champion for 7 years, the best smaller-weight guy in the world before they created WEC, had him fight Jose Aldo before they knew who Aldo was. But he was supposed to knock Aldo off. They didn't know who Aldo was. Then Aldo beat him. He popped for one of these drugs. Half of these jokers, the majority of these jokers taking shit. He popped for something, and then he never came back. But, I said to say, he was the man.
So you have a lot of high-profile fights in your career, and you've been very successful in this.
Last one, not to cut you off, but Chito Vera, 4-1 in the UFC, just knocked out Brad Pickett.
Right.
All of these dudes,
So with that being said, Dwan, I mean, have you been in talks with Bellator, the UFC? I mean, have they called you? Because it seems insane that they haven't.
It's crazy you say that, and I'm not going to sugarcoat this. I just saw Rich Chow yesterday. I went to the Bellator event with the sole intent just to see him, because there's a Bellator NASCAR event here. It's not really a Bellator card, but they both have the same sponsor, Monster Energy. So Monster's like, look, let's get this paper. Y'all do this together. They had 2 amateur fights, 2 pro fights. So, but Chow was there. Rich was there. So we had been chopping it up online for like a year, right, on Facebook. And then he was like, look, hit me up on my email, because I check that way more often. So in 2015, I had a 4-fight win streak, all 4 submissions. So I'm like, well, shit, it's on now. So I should have just sat, honestly. But I was in contact with, like, look, man, I'm whooping ass out here. Let's do this. Then after that, I wound up losing in January on the Next Level show. So it's like, shit, that's why I got knocked back down a peg. We good now, because we're building back up. But so I was like, okay, maybe let me go see him in person. You know what I mean? It's one thing to chop up somebody online, another thing to see them in the flesh. And then I'm just coming off a win, so I'd be like, yeah, look, you see me, I'm here, whatever. And I just whooped somebody else last week. Let's do this. So bum rushed him after the fight. Then it was cool. Lamont looked out. Lamont from Next Level. We talked out the fight. told him everything was going on. He's like, all right, look, man, we're gonna figure something out. We got the next couple of cards. I don't know if he said 2 or 3, but he said he got the next few cards pretty much solidified. But he's gonna try to make something happen. I'm like, all right, there it is. And then my boy Cyrus, I don't know if you know Cyrus Fees, but he's announced.
Oh yes.
Cyrus was right there. I'm like, hey, you heard him, right? So hopefully something good coming at it. In the meantime, we just gonna keep whooping ass, so it's all good.
Oh, that's perfect. Now, Dwan, I want to go back to something you said earlier, that DeMarquez Daniels might not have been prepared for how good of a grappler you were, because you do have a high level of knockouts. Now, you've competed in kickboxing. You've got a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu.
Blue, and a lot of people don't know that.
I'm sorry, blue.
Yeah, man.
I would have sworn it was purple. I would have sworn it was purple. Okay,
man, you and everybody else, but primarily when I'm competing, of course, competing against brown, purple, sometimes black on these no-gi events, these Toro Cups, every opponent.
So, kickboxer, a blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, obviously an MMA fighter. You're very well-rounded. Over the last 8 or so years, how do you develop such a well-rounded style that people aren't prepared for?
Man, honestly, just being forced to. When I was, because like I said, I started everything at the same time. I was a grown man when I started training, so naturally, I don't know if it's a rhythm thing, but I just clicked. Striking just I gravitated. So I was thinking of grappling as a defense more so. Then I just started falling in love with grappling. So I was kind of like a jiu-jitsu Muay Thai hybrid. Then when I went up to MMA Institute, Rick McCoy really got me serious on this cage work and this wrestling, which that's what separates the okay guys from the great guys, or the guys with potential that are really good but great. And as you see, so let me segue real quick. That's what made the difference in that fight with Daniels, was the cage work, because we hit him with that foot sweep 3 times. 3 times. That's what made the difference in the fight. But anyway, just wanted to bring that up. That's just MMA, that's straight Rick McCoy. That made a huge difference in that fight. But like I said, necessity, man. I had to get good at grappling. If you're good at striking, everybody wants to take you down. So as a pro, it doesn't happen as much. But when I was a Emmy, my first couple fights, man, people were just laying on me. The guys may not have better jiu-jitsu than you. They definitely have better striker. I was a brawler, but I still, threw. And I won a lot of my fights just off of heart when I was an amateur. My last 5 fights when I was an Emmy, that's when I really started separating from the pack and really, doing my thing. But so like I said, I kind of developed it from necessity. And then earlier in my career, around the time you saw me, I was a heavy ground and pound type guy on the top. Now, I don't know if I'm getting older or what, but now I'm just submitting guys from the top. I get on top, I'm looking for that arm triangle. You know what I mean? Immediately. If I throw ground and pound, it's just so they start blocking so I can get a submission. So, it's just developing. It's just constantly progressing.
That makes perfect sense, Dwan. Thank you for letting us know about that. So, of all the fights you've had, and again, you've been in some real wars, I've seen them. What would you say is your Rocky moment where you had to dig the deepest to pull out the victory?
Let me think, man. Honestly, so many of them, man. And I learned that even as an Emmy, man. Like I said, there were a lot of fights that heart won me the damn fight. But one fight, if I want to think of mentally, what I made was the Dustin Peg fight, because I was confident going into that fight. I had been training at the MMA Institute for a couple of months. I had just beat Rand Weathers. And like I said, Rand was the dude at one point, man. You know what I mean? And I got the opportunity to fight Dustin Peg. So I was pumped. The camp was good. I was training my ass off. When somebody's dangerous, man, you're training like a beast because, so everything is good. I'm confident. I get into the cage. The ring announcer says, he introduced me, and then as Peg was coming out, he was like, and now introducing 6-time UFC vet. And then in my mind, I was thinking, oh shit, motherfucker, shit is real. Like, it's about to, I knew Peg's credentials, but something about the way he said 6-time UFC vet, I remember standing in the cage thinking like, oh shit, it's about to go down. This motherfucker is good. It was the craziest feeling. But so the first round of that fight, he dominated me. He wasn't like hurting me, but he came out. His striking was a little crisper than mine. He didn't land a lot, but his shit just looked real smooth. Took me down easy. controlled me, took my back. I mean, I was like, I remember going to the corner like, man, shit, this motherfucker pretty good. But second round, reversed him, got on top, ground and pounded. My top pressure, if I get on top, people ain't getting up, man. Mm-hmm. So, you know, I got on top, ground and pound him, just battered him. And then mentally something changed right there. And that's how I already knew. But it was just reassuring, like, look, I can operate on the highest level. I can not only compete with, but beat some of the best guys in the world. Dustin Page fought in the UFC 6 times. 6 times. And, you know, the only reason he didn't win the Ultimate Fighter is because he lost to TJ Dillashaw, who was champ at that time. So when we beat him, when we finished him, you know what I mean? That definitely, like I said, digging deep in that fight and that finish, it definitely told me, like, man, if I do everything I'm supposed to do and prioritize it the right way, I know I can operate on the highest level and succeed, you know. But that being said, I might have got into a zone at one point where it was autopilot, like, I'm just gonna get in shape and go whoop this dude's ass, and then, you know, not been at my best physically. You know, that was around 2016. You know, took a late notice fight at the end of the year against Jericho. The fight with LaShawn, this is no one's fault, but the weather, the fight had got pushed back a month. Mm-hmm. So the event got canceled because it was like a snowstorm. So the what do you call it? The governor, what was that, honey? Yeah, the commission, because the commission falls into the state, they couldn't work that weekend. So event got pushed back. I didn't, you know, go hard back in the gym like I could have because I had planned so much other shit after I assumed the fight was going to be over. But this year, like I said, been training, prioritizing training, and just whooping ass and everything. Kickboxing, grappling events. You know, now back on the MMA grind. Got some more stuff lined up, so we just gonna keep it rolling. When I'm training, I'm winning. So easy formula. Just follow what's been done. So I'm prioritizing training.
Well, Dwan, I mean, I'm really hoping winning momentum goes your way. I mean, very, very impressive showing at a Next Level Fight Club 6. Things clearly going your way. I'm gonna ask you one more question, then I'm gonna let you go. If you could rematch against anyone right now, you get the rematch, who would it be and where would you fight them?
If I could rematch anyone, let me say, all right, promo stuff aside, I don't hold grudges with anybody, but if I could rematch somebody, I will rematch LaShawn Alcox. And the reason why is because LaShawn, you know, he did what he was supposed to do, but I had an opponent switch at the last minute. I'm not talking about the event being pushed back. His fight and my fight took place a couple days before the event. I was supposed to fight another guy. Totally different style. Again, not his fault. He's supposed to be the champ at Next Level. Motherfucker, defend your damn belt. He ain't defending the belt. Yeah, you know. So you know, I want to fight him. And so I was telling him, look, I was going to fight him in anything, whether it was kickboxing or MMA. He was on this kickboxing card. I went and fought on that show because I saw him whoop ass on that show. He actually fought on the card that same night. I was going to call him out on the mic, but, you know, something happened with the promoter, and I guess they fell out. I don't know the details, so I won't speak on too much. But now he's not kickboxing, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to get it in MMA. But I'm going to get that back. Well, I want to get that back. So, you know, or if not, get a damn belt up. I would rather him not give it up. I don't want to fight someone for a vacant belt. I want to snatch it. I want to take it from him. And I also want to show people, look, man, you can redeem your shit. It's the same guy who sent me back. You go back to the lab, do what you got to do, and then, you know, you can overcome that. I want to do that. I want people to see that journey and then take what they take from that. So if I could pick anybody, it would be LaShawn. You know, and like I said, I like LaShawn. He's a cool cat. I like the way he fights. You know, since our fight, he knocked somebody on the kickboxing card, knocked out one of my boys on Saturday at the Bellator card. My boy Mike Stevens, I used to train with. So he's doing his thing, and I'm happy for him. If you beat me, I definitely want you to keep winning. You know, don't fucking beat me then start losing, make me look crazy. So I'm glad that he's having success, but I got to get that up out here.
Absolutely, ladies and gentlemen, Dwan Dirty South Owens, you need to be following this guy. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going bigger and better places, and by bigger and better, I mean, you know, big two. I'm talking Bellator, UFC. It's just a matter of time It's not a matter of if,
Thank
but
you,
when.
man. I appreciate it, but we'll definitely get there, man. There's absolutely no doubt in my mind, man. Like I said, my family support, my friends support, everything is just impelling me to just go so hard and stay active, man. Staying active, staying consistent. We already got the big names, man. We already beat the big names. Now it's just a numbers game, right? You got to get that streak popping. You want to get to one of the big shows. And we back on track, so we're just going to keep it rolling. And I notice I operate best when I stay super active. Nothing makes you train and diet like knowing somebody's training to whoop your ass. So whenever I got long layoffs and I'm fighting in the winter, physically sometimes I'm like, I'm just going to keep it popping, keep it rolling. And then in wintertime, chill. Don't damn fight in the damn cold, you know. And so, yeah, I got the formula now, man. So, you know, we're on track. So we'll definitely be there.
Perfect. Well, Dwan, thank you so much for joining us on the Prizefight podcast today. Just thank you very much for all your support over the years.
Yeah, no doubt, man. I appreciate you so much, man. I want to give a big shout out to K-Side MMA, Toro BJJ. Check them out for all your MMA gear and apparel. Dirty White Belt Radio, Red Cup Bar and Arcade, my family at Elevate, MMA Institute, and PMAC USA. So much love and respect to everybody who's following and supporting, too. Also, Fighting for Uganda. Get familiar. I'll have me on Facebook for more details.
Perfect. And we'll have links to that on the CageNationTV.com. Dwan, thank you so much.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Thank you. Peace.
Thank you for tuning in to the Cage Nation Prize Fight Podcast. All rights reserved 2016 to 2017 Planet Aries Sports. The Prize Fight Podcast is part of the Cage Nation Broadcast Network. For more information, visit www.cagenationtv.com.